You gonna be back here? No, stand. You can come right here. You gonna say something?
Yeah. No problem.
Okay. Well,
I'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me a chair.
Yeah, I'm warm, man. I
Got over there.
Cotton Street. Like, this one. Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right.
There he is.
Great.
Okay.
Come here, Pooh.
Bob, you need a chair? Yeah, you put it beside the white thing. Got it. No, I just went ahead and did one that was the best.
You got the other one?
I got the things I could always make happen over the
I didn't think what I got.
yeah.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to start and get it rolling, and maybe more people will roll. The ones who are here are supposed to be here, and we're supposed to be together and get the knowledge, share the knowledge, and go on from there. We didn't let the rain stop us. The sunshine is right in here, and it's in your hearts and minds, and we're just going to make it bigger and grow. And because of time, I'm going to cut short what I wanted to say, but the essence of it is give yourself a hug and then give somebody next to you a hug.
Oh yeah, come on, bro.
Real. It helps. Energizes you, energizes us, and it tells them other folks to keep awake. This is the church. You take the CH over one end, the CH over the other, you are.
Yeah, come on with it.
And what I would like for y'all to do is, I am the person on WURG with the word of the day. If you have any words, I put them in there in a way that listen and go forward, you'll get what I'm saying about this. I have to labor it ways a little bit, but I still stand tall. And I don't crimp on what I say. So, bear with me, take the word, and we go from there.
Yeah.
And then, who do we have here? Well, Mr. Robert Hemmitt, metaphysician, God is God. And I'd like to thank myself. I'd like to thank all of Ryan. I'd like to thank Robbie and Linda, and most of all, I have to thank my soulmate, Mr. Robert S. Bracey, otherwise known as Nagi. For being our video person, and the tape to be ready. Even though we're not going to ask the questions here, if you have a question, you can leave it for me, and I'll make sure it gets answered. Okay? Thank you, and Bobby Hemmitt.
Well, glad to be back in my second home, Philadelphia. We spent a lot of time here in the 90s, bringing this thing to birth in the incubation stage. We had to get through a lot of esoteric information back then, to bring a lot of this information forth. But pretty much now what we've been doing, especially since the 2000s, is basically what we've been doing is we've been basically simmering on the front burner. See, the back burner you can just simmer around, but on the front burner you got to burn. So what happened was, is in this particular concept of the people who've been in this for a minute, to give you an update, a certain group of us in the 90s had to go through, and we had to unravel all of these particular hidden mysteries that was not only hidden from time, but hidden from the government or the powers that be also. So we had to basically get through just thousands and thousands of pages and books of information. Then in the 2000s, basically, we became entities. And so we basically just went into our own thing and started being the gods. Whether that be chaos or whether that be whatever the deal is. And that's the way this thing is. You get to a certain level and then you have to become that. And you have to become that. And so in so many words, that was the legacy of the Church of Philadelphia and other people around the country that was a part of that whole thing. We had numerous conferences and stuff. So in so many words, in retrospect, what we're dealing with now, have been dealing with recently, is not so much an ongoing research based on the materials and the doctrines, because we covered that for the first 9 years of it. What we're dealing with now is basically the research and the living essence of the gods in the spirit world. And sometimes, even when you don't even know there's a spirit world around you, there's always a spirit world. It's also, like I said, we did a lot of our work with Sister Delilah in over on Shoe Avenue or Shoe Street? Shoe Avenue. So we did a lot of the work in the 90s there. We used to come, I think I used to come up here every other month. So a lot of information came. Sister Sharon back there was a powerful entity. One of the ones with speed read and access to books and between that whole crew, a lot of rituals are done and a lot of things on getting the bearings in how this stuff was made. I met a good friend, Brother Bob Cece. Brother Bob Cece, which in so many words bought every book that I told him to buy. Even some I didn't buy my damn self. But so we had that whole thing going and all, and to let you know that the whole God self is he went on until he got hit by a car and proved that we are all unbreakable. So in so many words, he got hit by a car and didn't know he was hit and survived it with no bones broken or nothing. And so in so many words, he was the crash dummy for all of us that's actually unbreakable. Now it's ironic because I met a brother in New York, the brother Shabazz, that I'm dealing with now, had some of the same things happen to him, unbreakable, as far as getting thrown out of a five-story window on his head and landing on some bricks. And then that night he was out there standing on the corner, and the people all in the projects were scared. So we had a couple of things that actually happening. During the Million Woman March, I met, which is what is now, believe it or not, my significant other or my goddess. I want to put it that way, because she done told me, don't fuck around and don't address her as goddess. So you need to put the camera on her. I always got to bust her out. Go ahead. You stand up for a minute. Yeah. So that's my goddess, known as Linda. She used to live here. She used to dance and was connected with Sun Ra's house and the Sun Ra band. And she used to live here in Philly for a couple of years. And I met her. Yeah, I met her here in Philly about 7 or 8 years ago, back at the Million Woman March. And we hooked up. We hooked up by January, March of 2004. So that's how that whole thing happened and stuff, So we got a good connection going on. A straight up dictatorship. Ain't no democracy. I'm on the other end of being dictated. So don't let the pretty face fool you. Yeah, so that whole thing, like I said, she came in and like I said, I cleaned the house thoroughly for her so she could move down from DC. Because she moved back to DC. I cleaned the house thoroughly for her, and then she came in that Tuesday and started cleaning for 2 weeks. So I guess a man's clean is different than a woman's clean. And in so many words, the same thing happened with Bob Cece. Maryland came in and cleaned house and feng shui the place and stuff like that and all. So you know, you had a whole thing going on with that and all. So this, you know, so we equipped with the feminine energy and also, like this is more of a reunion. It's more of a reunion because pretty much since 1998, I've had the ability to stop the rain in every lecture, you know, and then except the date. And apparently, that was for a reason. You see what I'm saying? So obviously, it's for a reason. It's got something to do with something spirit. I don't know whether it be intimate or whatever. I guess that ain't no fun to buy Cece. You know what I'm saying? You know, because it looks like she might have to take the financial hit. But the spirit put it the way the spirit put it. You know, so that's just the way it is. Going right along, we got a lot of things we got to cover today. So we're gonna post some libations, and we have a lot of pictures that I've been dealing with recently, which the goddess Lakshmi, which is in so many words, we tapped into. This is when you know you tapped into a lot of the right energy. You know, they talk about this. You need to get a movie called The Mist of Babylon. Everybody seen this movie, The Mist of Babylon? It's a movie with Angelica Houston. It's called The Mist of Babylon. And I got this also in some they took this from some material that is in the Arthurian mythology. It was brought up by the Moors, and I think even the Greek mythology talks about this same thing. Whereas there's a realm, and you'll see it in the Mist of Babylon, because that particular Babylon, believe it or not, was run by a whole bunch of women. And in that particular Mist of Babylon, they show there's a realm that you can't get into not unless your heart chakra is right, or not unless you access a certain level of the feminine energy, or the feminine mysteries. And so that's the same thing happened here also when it comes to the, they call it Mabagogin, they call it the Mist of Babylon, they also call it the Eleusinian period of Lucius, whereas that particular realm is a realm set over by the goddess. And so you have to access that particular realm, and that's the particular realm that is going on at this particular time. Let me give you an example. We know that in 2001, a lot of patriarchal, even black patriarchal, because this is the test, it has nothing to do with Europeans. That world has fallen regardless, but even the black patriarchal system that was set up started crumbling. So we had several people, and we know that it didn't have nothing to do with the government, because if you are on the path, the government can't touch you, because they rolled after me 3 days after 9/11. Well, let's see, that was 9/11, which was that Tuesday. That Saturday, they rolled after me in 9/11, and as far as they had the street filled up with police cars, and me and the sister Kimberly was on the front porch because we had just gotten back from New York, and because I was there and doing 9/11, we was on the front porch of our house, and we was like, where are all these cars coming from? I mean, it was about 30 police cars, helicopters, big vans, and they came down the street looking, and they couldn't find the house. And we were standing right on the front porch, and it was almost like it was another dimension. And so the sister, Kimberly, was like, you know they're looking for you. And they couldn't find the house, and so they got a little embarrassed, and they sped off. On December the 19th of the same year, 2001, they tried to hit again and got the whole street the wrong way. They was on the street 2 blocks over. So everybody went through some form of being stepped to or being locked down. So, you know, they knocked off Collett. They knocked off, Dr. York. You know, they arrested Dr. York. And, you know, that whole thing went down. Farrakhan just pretty much just sold out. That's why he's still sick. I mean, they had Johnny Cochran's funeral the other week, and he came, and he could barely get out of bed the week before. So that lets you know that you can't call yourself spiritual and you still sick in this game. You see what I'm saying? So he could barely get out of bed. So, and him and Jesse called a special prayer meeting for the Pope. The other week. It's a special prayer meeting. So H-Rap Brown, they killed him. They locked him down. So my point here is, but the protection was not a bunch of people standing around in suits and running their fucking mouth with machine guns. Or the protection is whether you enter that particular realm of protection, which is the bosom of the goddess. And that was the only thing that could protect somebody.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Because like I said, actually they tried to roll on me in 2000 when they had the conference with Carlin and the rest of that type of thing. So there's been so the point I'm trying to make here is most of the people who are not dealing with some form of the bosom of the goddess are, in so many words, have gotten the satisfaction from the goddesses. Especially when we say public speakers, let's face it, this is a patriarchal culture, so majority of the public speakers are male. And the ones who were able to survive had to do something, whereas the goddess said, okay then, you at a certain level that you could survive, because which sets up what happened to me last weekend, which I set this up, it's fresh on my mind. I got a call from a group of brothers that wanted me to come out and demonstrate Palo Manombe, which is the darker side of what is called coming from the Congo rites. It is like the underworld mysteries coming from Congo. And so they came out and they wanted me to demonstrate this Palo. So I said, and so I was like, well, look, I said, look, you got to get. I said, first of all, you're on the wrong path already. I said, you're on the wrong path already. I said, you need to get some sisters. You want me to come out? They said, no problem. So they went in and the last minute called a couple of sisters and stuff like that. And I said, well, I'll come and, and I do some stuff and all, and y'all break me off a little something. So we went out. And they wanted me to get into how to work some magic. And I'm like, to be honest with you, I'm here to tell you that most of that stuff, those rites or how you work all that magic don't work no more. The mystery now here is you got to come from your heart, and whatever you do is magic, because if you read that stuff in them books, it don't work no more. And I said, so in so many words, I said, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and for 4-5 hours, I taught them how to live magically by saying, look, you can't take nothing with you. You got to be honest with yourself. It's all based on your heart chakra and how you don't lie to yourself. And I said, now, it's important that you don't lie. I said, I'm not talking moralism, because we're not talking about lying to like there's some God up in there looking down on you and you like ants. I'm talking about, no, I said, based on the science, there is a energy or a woman that sits in the middle of your heart. We'll go into this thing as we go on. And I say, you can't lie to her. I say, so it's simple. It's just like a person that's guilty. And I say, this is a science. So it got nothing to do with moralism. When the lawyer comes in and say, look, I need to know whether you're guilty or not. And although the lawyer is going to defend him, they say, now you can't tell me you innocent and you guilty, because I have to set up a line of argument to defend a guilty person to get a guilty person off. So this is how this thing goes. It has nothing to do with moralism. We're not judging you. It's just that I got to know what to do to get you off. So I told the people, I said, well, it's the same thing. You can't be lying. You must, in order to get this magic to work, it's got to be true, not to the omnipotent creator. It got to be true to your own heart and your own self. I said, so this is how this thing works. And I said in the gateway to get on, I said all of this type of stuff, and I broke down for 3, 4, 5 hours on how to work this magic, not with a whole bunch of hocus pocus. They wanted me to basically teach them some spells and all that. I'm like, that stuff don't work no more. I said, that don't work no more. I said, I'm trying to tell you how you're going to get this thing. I said, because it's a mindset. I said, we're talking about the goddess of prosperity, which is the goddess Lakshmi, which is the goddess of prosperity. which is the goddess Lakshmi, which is the one that permeates the scene since June the 6th, June 666, June the 6th, 2004, which is 666. The Venus crossed the sun. When Venus crossed the sun, the new Venus arose. And I knew it, so it came as the goddess Lakshmi. This is one of the golden color. She had several ones, and we also have the actual pictures here. And I said, so we actually have other pictures for sale for the people that's interested. But I said, this is the new energy that is on the scene. This is one coming from a small museum in France. A small museum in France that they hide a lot of stuff from. So I told them, look, in order to do this, you have to be true, because she is the form of Maya. I said when we say Maya, I said those Egyptian words are mostly generic terms. They're so old until they don't really work anymore. But the generic terms is you learn the principles, but until the actual goddess shows up with the energy. And they said, well, how do you know she's the one? I said, that's the motherfucker showed up. You know, I wasn't looking for her. She just showed up. You see what I'm saying? I did a lecture called Lakshmi Return to the 108 Gate on October the 16th. Little did I know that the same day they have a festival to her in East India, or in India. I chose October the 16th, because it was the day of El Cristo Negro, which is Apollo deity, which is the crucified black Christ or Osiris, that we found out there's a festival to him every year in Puerto Rico. So I did the ritual based on that, the lecture in Atlanta based on that, and I didn't know until 2 weeks ago that was in October the 16th of 2004. I didn't know until 2 weeks ago that was actually her date. So I said, oh, but right after that, in October, she started showing up. So make a long story short, we'll get back into that. I told him, I said, look, if you're going to make this stuff happen, you must tell the truth. So we went through this long, elaborate aspect that they paid me to show them how to deal with magic. And I think so at the end, we noticed that all of them was upset. And I'm like, I just told you what works. And it wasn't until the next morning till we found out what happened. What had happened is Dr. York called a group of his followers in Atlanta, because he's down there, he's locked up in Georgia, and told these brothers to come get me to teach them with some Apollo ritual to get him out of prison. But he told them not to tell me that it was him. And so they pretended that they was interested in it as a group. They wanted to get to the next level. And that day when I broke all this stuff about the heart chakra and all this stuff on what was going to happen, they was upset because they wasn't going to be able to take no ritual back to Dr. York and report on some stuff that's going to get him out of prison. And I could have told him from the get-go. I could have saved him a whole lot of time and money by saying, hey, this nigga can't get out of prison based on stuff like that, because it's all based on what you do to the gods or what you do to the goddess. And if you're running some bullshit, you see, and don't understand that if you wasn't right in the first place, that's what locked you up in the first place. So I said, so he could have told me this from the get-go. So they were upset because they weren't interested in magic for themselves. They were only interested in magic to get Dr. York out so that they can continue following Dr. York. You see what I'm saying? Dr. York. And I said, see, I could, so my point here is just to show you how this particular thing worked. Now, the thing with the Pope, and I want to do this and I'm going to go into a libation. The thing that happened with Pope John Paul is that anytime you get one of the great archetypes of the male domination or the ruling empire, topple it, That's a good day for us because we know that the papacy sanctioned slavery. We know that half the things in which holds down the spirit world, or which was the ancient world, came out of Rome when they made religion or spirituality, no, they made indoctrination or religion a ward of the state, some form of fascism, and went around the world. And you go all over this planet, there's Catholicism all over the world. That's a form of fascist domination. And so we know when we have this type of thing going on, that it's a great day for us. And I want to play something for you that's spiritual, just to show you, for you people that's all caught up in the everybody's everybody, and we are the world. And people that can't get it in their head in an actuality. Whenever you pray, there is no arms of Christian soldiers around the world. You on your damn own, because the people who gave you this are for ruling. A sister sent me this, a sister named Sandra sent me this from Los Angeles. This guy is by the name Brother Andre, and he's an expert on the pontiff or the papacy or the Vatican. This is a brother. And so she said, let me send it. I said, well, let me listen to this thing and see what it is. Because I said, I already know about the ruling, but when he first comes on, he's going to start reading something from the Conference of Trent. You know, you had the Conference of Nicaea. There was 8 conferences. This is the Conference of Trent that establishes the bylaws for the Pope. And I want you to hear this thing. And in so many words, 2 things. When you hear this, it goes to show you the mindset of the people that's ruling over you. And number 2, everything they're saying about him, you need to be applying to yourself. But I really want you to hear these people we're dealing with. So I'm going to put this on and let you hear this.
According to their own decrees of the Council of Trent from 1540.
Can you hear it?
1545 was when the decrees of the Council of Trent were issued by the Vatican. I'd just like to read one paragraph from the decrees of the Council of Trent, if you don't mind. It reads, quote, "The Pope is immaculate, infallible, and irresponsible to any earthly tribunal or power. He is judge of all, can be judged by none, kings, priests, nor people. He is free from all laws, so that he cannot incur any sentence or penalty for any crime. He is all in all and above all, so that God and the Pope, the vicar of God, are but one. Wherefore the Pope hath power to abrogate laws, to dispense all things in regards to marriage, usury, divorce, homicide, perjury. He hath all power on earth, purgatory, heaven, and hell, to bind, loose, command, permit, dispense, do, and undo. Therefore, it is declared to stand upon necessity of salvation, that every human creature be subject to the Roman pontiff. All temporal power are his. The dominion, jurisdiction, and government of the whole earth is his divine right. All rulers of the earth are his subjects and must submit to him. To his infallibility in the spiritual order and absolute sovereignty in the temporal are synonymous and convertible terms." That's just a little bit of the rhetoric from the decrees of the Council of Trent. So we can see here that the Pope basically has set himself up not as really as the vicar of God, a representative of God on earth, but he has set himself up as God himself.
But wait a minute now. It sounds like he's the man next to God. Now, do the other countries have to abide by this? Do they have to respect this?
Well, every president since LBJ has had to go and have an audience with the Pope. And if you read your Bible, I believe in the 18th chapter of Revelations, the 17th and 18th chapters of Revelations, it talks about the great harlot committing fornication with the kings of the earth. You know, anytime, when we think about fornication,
now, he's dealing with that, trying to locate that in the Bible. But understanding here, what this said here is this guy, the Pope, and I don't want to hear no shit about Pope John Paul being a good man. I've heard some conscious niggas say this stuff. Now, he did take the Black Madonna and child from Poland and set it up, you know, in the Vatican. He prayed to that, but that's just basically a ritual. You understand what I'm saying? That they use in some kind of way if they're going to rule in the sovereign power. Even they know that they got to bow down to the goddess. But the point I'm trying to make here is they're saying that this cat is infallible to not only the people on earth, but the cosmos. He's above God. They say he is God himself. Now you must understand here, this is not a group of people that are saying that this is just a ritual that we use where we have to set ourselves up to be like that. It doesn't really mean this way. What they mean is that, remember now, these are the Romans. These are murderers who did nothing but kill people. So naturally, if the Romans are going to go into some form of religion, you see, a modern day religion, that it would be a religion to do just that. Keep the Roman Empire going through the state of some type of fascist religious regime. You see what I'm saying? So, like John Henry Clark said, male chauvinist murderous cults. So you got to look at the mentality here on how the people around the world are the subjects, and try to understand that they're just this guy here, his brother Andre, he wrote a book called something. He wrote a book on the Federal Reserve and stuff. But anyway, for the people that's interested, I pass out some things. You can get this. I can take these for you down in Atlanta, and you can get a copy of this particular cassette that the sister was so happy to grace us with. What's that? Brother Basisi. He has here in Philly, so you can get with Brother Basisi to get a copy of that. Of that cassette. He got a high-speed double, right? So he's the man, that you can get a copy of this particular thing from. Because they go on and on. Whereas this guy is saying that if you look at any cathedral of Catholicism in Europe and America, they are rich. They are the richest group of religious organization on the planet. But if you go to any place in what they call the developing countries, other than the third world, the developing countries, or what they would call our countries, you will find out that the places where the Africans and all of them go, it might be a little rundown shack that they call the cathedral or whatever, and might have one little cross on the wall. It's very humble, although they have the biggest basilica on the planet is in Nigeria, Africa. And that's set up there to mess people's minds up. But they were saying in Latin America, Brazil, and all over the country, when you go and stuff, it's the poorest, wretched state you can find is the Catholic Church. But yet in Europe, and white folks, it is the richest. They said, and he goes on to say that they could, if they just sold the paintings from the Vatican, they wouldn't have to even dip into their bank accounts. If they just sold the paintings, they said that if they just sold the paintings from the Vatican, that they could outfit the wealth of every African and indigenous nation of Catholics on the planet. It can literally set them up, damn near sovereign, just by selling the paintings of the Vatican. So he's going into this particular rulership. So in so many words, we know that on one hand, just like 2000, when the church started falling, well, all of a sudden in 2000 and 2001, all these priests started getting exposed, being fuckboys and screwing these people over the years. That's one flow. The other one culminates into the death of this particular cracker here, right. Because you got to understand that's a major event whenever you have one of those type of people die. The other part is this. Now that's the flip side, which in so many words is the actual answer to this thing. They finished. But let's look at the side in which the New World Order and the governments of the world are what we call a ruling power state, which is a different side. Because they said that Pope John Paul, in his brand of Catholicism, was to lull the people to sleep into the love of him. But when you get into what's coming now, the gloves are off. Now we know that the new one is a German Nazi, and he had to be a child. He had to be in the Hitler's youth.
Right.
There's a reason.
Right. Mindset.
Get the movie Soldier with Kurt Russell and understand how they got it. In order for it to be a Christ figure, it has to have something to do with his childhood on into adult. And by him being a part of Hitler's youth sets up one thing, and this is what you must understand. If you get documentaries on the rise and fall of the Third Reich, and you understand the occult significance of the Thule Society and the Vril Society and the occult significance, you will understand something greater. Now this is what this thing is all about. In their doctrine, they talked about the Third Reich going of the future. So, not the World War II shit. You understand what I'm saying? That was just an occult summit. You see what I'm saying? And every now and then these crackers got to have a war. Just like Iraq.
Yeah.
So that's, the war is to throw people off.
Right.
Yep. You see. But the protocols of the occult manifesto of what they want to be in the future is what they was working towards. And that's what we're talking about here. The Third Reich occult manifesto said that we were looking to take the Third Reich of these Nazis, or the Thule Society of the Third Reich, will be in a position in the future to reign 1,000 years. And they talked about how they were going to go into the millennium, and they were going to reign 1,000 years based on this Aryan, which I don't want to get the original Aryans because that was black people, but based on this master race. Based on this master race that will reign 1,000 years into the future, into the millennium. Now, based on, if you get a lot of the documentaries, I had some of this shit in the 90s, but my tape got mildew, and I had to throw away the 300 tapes that I recorded off a cable. But don't worry about it, because the History Channel, History Channel, History International, then you might as well be called a World War II channel. And every damn time I turn on the TV, I just see some fucking tanks rolling down the street. So these crackers, they talk about history, but their history is based on World War II. They got so bold until they put out a Discovery Times channel, and it's all about World War II. And then they just got so bold until a month, 2 months ago, they just say, fuck it, we're going to put the military channel out.
That's right.
So we're not going to, that's what we're about.
That's right.
Gang warfare. That's what even your boy said that. You don't understand nothing. Even your boy, Dr. Africa. You don't understand that this man is a warfare machine. And everything he does, even down to what you eat, and everything is based on a warfare machine. And he thinks about this stuff all the time. You see, and that whole thing of when we sleeping, they're awake. Even Johnny Cochran couldn't understand, you see, that whenever he won that case 10 years ago, see, I always do it on a cycle. He won the case in 95, 2005, he dead. It's a cycle. You see what I'm saying? That his days was numbered, not unless he got with some real spiritual knowledge, but too often. You see what I'm saying? Those people, the ones that are raised up by this society, end up getting caught in this society because they in actuality think that they are based on their marriage because they burnt some midnight oil. You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
So that's one thing. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But going back, they talked about the reign of 1,000 years in the future. So this installment of a pope that was one of Hitler's. See, when you say Hitler's youth, that means that was the person that was supposed to rule in the future. And although you thought you got interrupted, they got interrupted. They did. They just went underground. Look, go and look any of the movies. Go get back and get the movie Starship Troopers. Most people don't like that movie, but that movie has so much in it just on the dress. And if you look at that movie, Demolition Man, and look at the police outfits, there's never a movie that comes on in the future where they don't have on Nazi regalia. Most of all the uniforms are Nazi. Starship Troopers, all of them. If you just look at the police department in Demolition Man, you know, there's never a time. Damn, you just get younger and younger each time. This sister right here, behind you, Delilah. Like, goddamn, right? You. It's almost like some type of metamorphosis or something. This reversing, which is interesting here because I got this piece I want to show y'all. Yeah, it's like some stuff that's getting metamorphosized and stuff. You know, but which is interesting. I say that because I got something to show you in a few minutes when we get into this lecture. But going back, when you talk about this future, and you look at the dress, and they probably got about 10 or 15 movies out about the future and them ruling, and every time they got on Nazi regalia. I'm saying that because this is key, because they're talking about these Nazis ruling in the future, and now that's why the Hitler Youth had to come up. And they didn't have not one cracker Jew opposing. Now they're getting ready to do this law where they're going to strike down this whole America. You got to be from America to be president. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger, you see what I'm saying, who admitted in 2003 that his father was a part of the SS and that he was proud of Hitler. You understand what I'm saying? Now the Jews are not going to say anything about it because they understand the reason why they reign in Israel is because what they set up in World War II to give them an excuse, you see what I'm saying? To rule over some people because that was a Jewish inception from the beginning, from the early 1900s. But you must understand this particular mentality on how they're doing this stuff, and that's what their new aspect. Now, the time is out for that.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And I say that the time is out for that, but I want to put a certain amount of things because we are making a video for the people that's outside of this room. But you see what I'm saying? So there's a certain amount of things we got to deal with. But it's just interesting here. This tape talks about the Pope being set up as God. And whoever sits in that seat is God. Then you have the whole Hitler thing saying that the Third Reich, you understand what I'm saying? The Third Reich will reign in the future. So now you have the ultimate aspect of the Third Reich not being an adult to Hitler and them. There was not a Third Reich at first. They established a Third Reich, but to bring a child up under that. And they grow up with this over the years. That means that they become the manifestation of the final solution or the final product of it. So as a result, if this tape is saying that he's set up as God, and they put him on the actual throne. And now remember now, he's not like Pope John Paul. This cracker has got a book that is selling like crazy that he wrote a couple of years ago. And his book is his ideas. That's his manifesto. Just like Mein Kampf that Hitler had. So this guy is coming with his own Bible.
Oh, shit.
You see what I'm saying? He's coming with his own Bible. And although it might be hidden up under this so-called Christianity, you see what I'm saying? This thing is all set up for them for world domination. You see what I'm saying? World domination. And that's what this whole thing is about. And it was either the African versus the Nazi, and they chose the Nazi. You see what I'm saying? But then again, on the other hand, it's just like the Johnny Cochran thing. The Africans don't fare no better, or nobody else that's black that find themselves being created by these Europeans. You see what I'm saying? This leads to the whole Johnny Cochran thing, which is interesting today because this is one of the keys. Because what we found out here is certain things that went on in the past 15 years. Now we got clear evidence on how they was able to pull it off. And the Johnny Cochran thing that went down was one of those particular scenarios. Whereas he goes in the hospital, they implant him, and then after implanting him, they send a signal through his cell phone, and the cell phone gives the brain tumor and takes him out, or what they call a brain tumor, or a hemorrhage. You see what I'm saying? Or aneurysm, or whatever. So they set him up this particular way for the simple fact he too did not understand the ramifications of what had happened 10 years ago. You see, so his days was numbered in that particular aspect. So basically they implanted him and then just wait till a certain time based on a ritual. Somebody need to get the time, the day, or the time. Well, let's put it this particular way. We know that this thing happened because the brother Azariah, they call him Azazel from New York, did a tape before Christmas. I think he did this tape sometime in September or October. And we got the tape, and on that tape, he talked about Johnny Cochran being in trouble, something with his brain. Now, he talked about this, and we got it on tape, and I think the tape was done, in October or something like that, of Johnny Cochran being in trouble. You see what I'm saying? So, they set this whole thing up. You see, they set this whole thing up and all, and the problem here is, by him not knowing what time it was, he should supposed to have gone damn near in hiding. You see, instead of becoming more and more mainstream. You see, so basically the same thing again. They took him out because he didn't know what was going down, which is interesting. What's that?
Now, Condoleezza Rice, when she got hired, they gave her this so that she got to check her for ovarian cancer stuff. Something like that.
So the thing about Condoleezza Rice is it's a major ritual going on. Now, one, I don't want you to look at this thing as Democrat and Republican. Condoleezza Rice, even spiritually, is no joke.
No.
I'm going to tell you why. Condoleezza Rice, believe it or not, they don't see, now if they're going to see, let's put it this way. When they do some stuff with them, they know that it's based on falsehood, and they got to do some rituals behind it, but they know ultimately they're not the authentic thing.
Right.
When they chose her to be the world queen,
I see.
so I want you to look at this. They didn't do it on a falsehood base. They did it because they checked her energy. Yeah. And they understand that they had to come right, because you must understand this about her. So I want you to get out of the whole Republican Democrat shit. That's just a role.
Right.
That's just the worldwide wrestling. You take this side and you take that side.
That's right.
But you must understand why they would set her up. Number one, this woman was a couple of minutes off from being one of the children that got blew up in the Alabama bombing. You know, the 4 girls that got blew up? She was supposed to be one of those girls up in there, but she was late.
Oh, shit.
See what I'm saying? So that means the government looks at this, and they track this particular person all her life. And certain opportunities was awarded for her to be set up in the position that she's in right now.
So she was groomed.
Huh?
She was technically groomed for the position.
Not only was she groomed, this is the key where they fucked up on that. Only thing we needed to know, because she is Kali in the particular aspect of a certain energy. Because every time if you notice, when she go up, twice when they had her on the hot seat. And she sat down before Congress, she whipped ass.
Yeah.
She came out and she whipped ass. So the only thing we needed to know, well, one thing, and I would think that it would be this because they are playing to win now. Now, don't worry about it because it's our energy. I'm going to show you. So the only thing I needed to know was this woman a clone or was she the real deal? So it don't matter on how she's playing the game or thinking one way and how they have to set up. If she has a soul, that's ours. So in so many words, it's almost like playing with fire and getting burned. You exalting a certain person because you're trying to save your ass and although you think you're working for her, but in the spirit world they're saying, that's the worst thing you shouldn't have done. It's like, God damn it, you know I'm a snake. You see what I'm saying? So why you trusted me in the first place? In this particular case, as far as the energy, they fucked up with her. You see what I'm saying? Because that energy, because it's a soul, it's working for our side. Doesn't matter with the road down here. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's the soul, it's ours. So that's a whole other thing that's going on that, which is key because they told you in the car, motherfucker, we ain't got no room for you. When it was time for to go over to bury the Pope. But she went. Had a new hairdo and everything. If you notice, she had, she had the little humble looking outfits and stuff. But if you notice, as soon as she became Secretary of State, even her appearance went to a whole nother level. Yeah. See what I'm saying? She broke out in all red one day, and a week after becoming Secretary of State, the first thing they did is they sent her to England. She had to meet with the rulers, the real rulers. And she went over there, and the first thing she did when they came out, they tried to jump on her, and she was so awesome until she shot them down and got in their ass right off the bat, and then they started coming with respect from Miss Rice. You see what I'm saying? So they got it's like a warrior type that the government think they got for them, they got for us. Because remember now, your boy was Secretary of State, Colin Powell, and they said he was the least traveled. And they said but her, they're gonna make her the most traveled. As a matter of fact, I don't even think she's been in the country but a few damn days. You see, so in so many words, this is their banner. It's almost say in order for us to line up this goddess energy, we have to put the black woman, exalt her.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So you got to understand the ritual behind it, because they don't look at what you think personally, because none of that shit exists. Because Democrat or Republican or none of that policy exists. You only got to look at this thing on the energy level, which in this particular case, we done checked it on the spirit realm. They was like, oh no, they done fucked up. You see what I'm saying? That's one of our pit bulls. You see, and she don't have to know what's going on. Has nothing to do with what she knows. It has something to do with the position and what they're doing. And then again, on the other hand, we understand the symbol and the image of this particular energy. You see what I'm saying? So it's very key on how you dealing with that. Let's go into some libations right quick. Get the energies there, and because we got a lot to cover in a short period of time. So let's give them they shout out. Give them their shout out and move right along. Now let's see where in the hell did I put stuff? Okay, here we go. Yeah. Y'all all right?
Yes.
Okay. Pretty much, I can say that the realm of what I've been dealing in, and especially this come of age, is, and I can tell the difference now in retrospect of dealing with what was more on the scholastic level of the 90s, and like I said, was a lot of work to be done of the 90s, and then the millennium comes in, and pretty much the realm became more of a hands-on experience in the spirit realm, which in actuality, the motherfucker, part of that was chaos. You see what I'm saying? Part of that was chaos, and part of that was like some form of order. Whatever the deal was, is it gave us two sides because of so many words. We became the gods. Just look at yourself the last couple of years, and in so many words, there was a certain lineup. So in so many words, when it came to my endeavors, it was the difference between being outside of the spirit and working to contact a certain realm than actually being in the realm. So smooth until I have to even backtrack to even find out. You see what I'm saying? That I'm in the realm. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. In 2002, by the end of 2002, I started having a problem with my landlord and rent. I came 2 months behind on the rent. So it often bothered me is that I got all this power spiritually. Why is it for almost a year I was 2 months behind and didn't end up paying it until the end of 2003? Almost a year and a half. And I couldn't figure that out until after I got back in the swing of things financially to pay things. I realized that was the spirit hooking it up all the time. What had happened is all the houses on my street doubled in rent, mortgage. They doubled in about a 2-year period. So what the spirit did is the spirit had me go into this particular financial disparity, and they already knew the way the landlord was set up, that it wasn't going to be no shit and all, that it wasn't going to be no you getting kicked out or anything like that, till whenever I was able to do what I had to do to pay him, that he kept my rent the same as it was in 99, and everybody else on the whole block is paying almost double what I'm paying. So it wasn't until almost 2 years later that I realized that was the spirit that came in, and had I kept on paying and he realized that you can get the payment, he was going to jack my shit up, which I couldn't afford. So the spirit let him know, no motherfucker, what you got here, you better be glad to get this, because for 2 years, you damn near didn't have this. You understand where I'm coming from here? So in so many words, what I'm saying here is, a lot of times, things have been happening magically, but we just can't see it. But the simple fact is, we're trained to look at things at a certain way, and the spirit was lining shit up the same, lining stuff up the same way. You see what I'm saying? So we was trained to look at a certain thing. So in so many words, I'm talking about that kind of magic. Whereas things are being lined up and putting certain things in certain positions right now so that you can manifest what you got to manifest. And although you might not see it right now, that's exactly what's happening. You see what I'm saying? So that's the way the spirit world was working. I'm giving you one example. There's several examples on this same thing. Y'all all right?
Yes.
Okay. Since 2002, since 2001, we have had dozens of new deities that will come through with new names as new energies that would come through, and there would be a reason why. These particular entities would come through to show us that what we was working with was not necessarily just going through the motions of all these old pantheons that everybody on the earth is accessing. Like we say, they got 3,000 white practitioners in Europe. Voodoo is completely taken over by white folks now. You see what I'm saying? One brother went down to New Orleans last year with the Voodoo Museum, and white folks come out. So this thing, so in so many words, these new images come only as an indication to say, in actuality, those generic terms and all although that they think that they're in access and they're doing all this type of stuff based on rituals and stuff, this energy is going into a whole other platform that they don't even have access to. But the key here is the access to this particular thing magically. It ain't about bowing down to a whole lot of entities. It's about you being true to your own self, because the entities is us. The energy is us.
I say.
That's what the key is. We're not talking about outside people. We're talking about us. It's all here. It's all what we need. You see? And it's just that one thing of just understanding and believing in the particular aspect, but not lying to yourself.
Yes.
There's a mystery to this thing. So in so many words, we have become the essence of those particular gods. So when Boss Cecil gets hit by a motherfucking car, get run over, and nothing happens, that's a sign. You see what I'm saying? So he just had to be the guinea pig on this one, a part of the crew and stuff. Like, better you than me. No, I'm just joking. It's a part of the crew. You see what I'm saying? That was a sign to say that in actuality we are metamorphosized at several levels. Now, to give you an example, there was a sister that used to work for Dr. Richard King. Some of y'all met her, a sister named Fanny Stokes. She lives in Detroit. And she made this particular indication that she works in the lab, in a medical lab, and they study DNA, and she was saying that the DNA, she said this in the 90s, and she came and she called me the other week and said something about the DNA they find in all of this amino acids popping up on black DNA every day, new amino acids. So it was, in so many words, it was some type of change, some type of metamorphosis or some type of change. So she came back recently because there's a tape called accessing DMT, which is called DMT spirit molecule, which is a form of melanin. It's a manifestation of melanin. So accessing this particular DMT, accessing melanin through DMT. DMT is supposed to be the final aspect. And this brother named Kalindi that has his tape out, we was up at the melanin conference, and was talking about this particular aspect. He deals with the sacred mushroom. And so some of them been going in with the mushroom, or going in. And Sister Fanny said she went to a certain level, and the spirits told her, look, that at this particular time, which is very interesting here, that if we are metamorphosizing into, we are already there, then at this particular time, anything to heal yourself is being already produced from your body.
Okay.
So in so many words, let's say if you got sick, because you are a reactor or a cooking pot of this new energy, or these new cells and new elixirs, and all you got to do, and this is what the spirits told her, all you got to do, and you get sick, is to drink your own piss. Because your body is giving you, now we're not talking about the masses, we're talking about the conscious, because you're the one that's metamorphosing, because you've been conscious all the years. Something got to come out of this shit. So all you got to do is to drink your own urine, because the stuff that is going on inside of us and what everybody's looking for is right in our bodies. And your urine comes out every damn morning. Now, which is interesting here, because I had some problems with my eyesight back in what you call it, and the whole thing the Spirit said was, the Sister Kimberly, one of the new spirits named Enmatu came up, and she said, I'll get back with you. And she called the next day and said, take Linda's urine and put it in your eyes. And I put her urine in my eyes and shit. Shit is damn near X-ray vision. So it's saying that we have, but this is when you know it's some stuff that is going on. Because about a month after putting her urine in my eyes, I'm up in New York doing an election. I go and take a piss, and I can smell her urine in New York in the toilet. So it means that in actuality, we are mobbing together. So you can't be looking at this stuff as being nasty and stuff. Right. We're trying to show you how the science works.
That's
You
right.
see how science works and how this stuff is actually coming together. You see what I'm saying? So in so many words, when the sister said, and the sister told, this was week before last, she said, the spirits are saying, drink your own urine. Now this is the same, one of the brothers in Detroit took the mushroom, went in, and all of a sudden the trees started chasing his ass. He said the whole time he was there, the trees was chasing his ass and trying to kill his ass. And when he came out, there's one secret. He cut down trees for a living. You see, so we're talking about something that's real. So he cut down trees for a living. When he went in, the trees was after his ass. You see?
Yeah.
So when and she said she went in, and Offset came. And she said, why haven't I ever heard from you before? She said, I don't come by the name Isis. That ain't my fucking name. That's what she said to her. She said, that's not my name, so I don't come by Isis. You see what I'm saying? She said, that's not my name. So I'm just trying to say there's a whole realm, but there's things that is going on, you see, on that particular level. You see, what we're talking about here, what we're talking about on a certain level is, the more severe they get, which we'll go into in a few minutes, they're only showing their hand because they're forced to show their hand. So she went back saying, well, Bobby, what I'm telling you is the reason why this shit is getting to the point where as it's the whole lockdown thing is because, again, she said it's even more and more amino acids popping up on our DNA because she's in the lab and she sees this thing every day. So there's some stuff that's happening on the molecular structure and we're looking and we're saying, my God, outside is just crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, these niggas is killing each other up here. I don't know how many niggas is down a damn day. But there's a reason for that and stuff. So you can monitor on how much we are going to a certain level based on the craziness that's going outside. And although it might get discouraging, whereas it's come to the point right now, you just got to be by yourself.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Any contact with any motherfucker means it's gonna be some drama. You know what I'm saying? Right now, a motherfucker, your best friend is called a caller ID.
That's right.
That's your best fucking friend.
That's right. True that.
It's a damn caller ID so you can screen out the bullshit.
That's right.
You know, that's liberating. And that's how you gotta live now. It's called ID. because it's so desperate now until that little bit of realm, which is now nothing but leftover residue, is even weak.
That's right.
As far as the ruling realm.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
They cannot harm you by them actually doing it with their energy. They can only harm you by turning your own energy against yourself.
That's right. That's right. That's all.
By confusion.
That's all.
And they do this to the motherfuckers you know.
That's right. That's right.
See what I'm saying? Let me give you an example. Y'all alright?
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. Well, here's one that's coming from the, give an example. Now, if you want to get this, you can get pictures of this fabulous piece. If you get pictures of this fabulous piece, if you go to if you get a book, I don't know if I brought the book. It's a book on Kali. What's the name of that book? You just ordered it, Bob. It's a book on Kali. It's a book on Kali you can get. It's been out for years, but I'm very interested in this picture. I'm going to show you this one. Let's see. I hope I didn't show you this one. Because this is where we are. This has a lot to do with everything. But I talked about this in Baltimore.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. We're interested in this figure here because this particular figure is a black woman. She's emaciated. Her breasts are emaciated, which means they're all dried up. And you see she has a bones and a plate, which represent the wretched condition of the original human. You see what I'm saying? The original human. This is the buffalo demon, which represents the matrix, the physical laws of the universe that hold us in bondage. Along comes Durga, which is the active form of Kali. She's the warrior form of Kali. And she comes in and she defeats the buffalo demon, thus freeing this black woman from her wretched condition. There's only one thing. The black woman, this buffalo demon is coming up out of her mind.
Right.
Which means she's creating a situation based on her mind in the wretched state of what she's in.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
You see what I'm saying?
Go ahead, go ahead.
So she's creating this based on she's so old until it's a form of senility. And we create this whole thing based on the way we have been programmed to think.
Okay.
You see, so in so many words, this is just a higher aspect of this. Now, this is the interesting part about that is this, and I'm going to show you this. This is very key. This is very key. This is sensational here. I want to show you this because this is one of the original engravings. Now, this is a later day form. Now, this is in the Brooklyn Museum of Durga. This is a later day form because the East Indians and a lot of their paintings now, because they're going through mind control, anything they reveal, they make it lighter and lighter and lighter. So all the gods and goddesses are lighter.
Right.
The original Dravidian aspect is this particular one of Durga. Here she's riding a tiger. She's riding a tiger. Here she's riding the lion. Y'all all right?
Yeah.
Which means, by her riding the lion, this is coming from Kush on into Dravidian, which means in actuality that this particular aspect of her is when she was Setmet in Kemet. So the Durga riding a lion, because lions are synonymous to Africa.
Right.
Tigers are synonymous to Asia. I didn't know that because I thought that lions, tigers, and bears, oh my, was in the same damn place. You know what I'm saying? Tigers are Asian. Which is interesting because she's riding the tiger, it's also representing her in a futuristic event. So in one was a prophecy that one day Durga or Setmet, because of the lion, in her African thing in history, would defeat the buffalo demon in prophecy. The other one that you get in here is the prophecy being fulfilled because she's now riding a lion, a tiger.
Right.
This also represents indication of where this particular thing would go down. In so many cases, going back again, this event happened. It's not going to happen as some physical woman coming in. It's going to happen based on a future event of energy. In this particular case, because it was the tiger, that represented the tsunami because of what went down in Asia.
Okay.
You see, because even I thought when I was in Philly, the day it happened, I did a little thing. Somebody came and called and I said, "You got time to come to Philly?" We flew in one day, did a little lecture that night. I think flew out the next day or whatever, the day after. When I was here, they said the tsunami. The first thing I thought was, well, maybe it could have been the government. You know, with the harp and all that. When I got that, every single female that I met that was on the frequency said, "No, we're not getting that. We're getting some type of activity from the goddess. Some type of yarn. Just like she batted her fucking eye and motherfuckers died in 100,000. You see her, she 40.
Well, that's right. You see it part.
Or whatever the deal was. And this particular aspect happened, where we'd have this phenomenon. We know this for the simple fact that, and I talked about this last couple of lectures, no people, indigenous people in that area died.
Ashe.
We got some people coming all the way from New Jersey up in here, in the house. You know, no indigenous. Yeah. You gotta praise them, brother, for people from New Jersey. All them motherfucking plants and all them chemical places up in that motherfucker. You got a nuclear toxic, brother, coming from up there. So anybody end up conscious out of New Jersey, you know they's real powerful entities. Like they said, the Statue of Liberty got the back turned to their ass. But we know this now because all the indigenous people headed to the hills. The domestic elephants broke their chains and headed to the hills.
That's right.
No fish were killed. So my point, if it was a gun or if it was a bomb, well, you would have fish. Every time they you can take a little some stick of dynamite and go drop it in that ocean. If it blow up, you will see a certain amount of fish come up to the top. No fish, they didn't report no fish. You see what I'm saying? Only people who were not indigenous. You see, there was a Islamic group that was there that they was dealing with Sufism. They saved themselves. You see what I'm saying? They saved themselves. In India, you had the group of people, the Jawara tribe that I talked about. They saved themselves, which is interesting here because, and I wanted to put that back up here. I talked about this a couple of years ago in my lectures. That in 1994, a group of white boys searching for a group that was equivalent to the Dogon went and got into the Jarawa tribe, which is a group of people that live on an island out on the coast of India.
Yeah.
So they live on this island, and they don't take no visitors. This is a little boy with his tribal paint, and he went to tribal paint. This is the Jawara boy.
Right.
And they don't take no visitors. None. Now what's interesting, because I heard about them 10 years ago, but back in 1994, some white boys tried to go get up into their camp, and ended up getting killed. And I didn't hear nothing else about the tribe until 10 years later, me and the sister, for some reason, I don't know what it is, I just take a liking to her. Me and the goddess, we was up in the restaurant eating. East Indian guy came up to us. We was in an East Indian restaurant, an Indian restaurant. He came up to us and he just started telling us the history of India. And I put my hand and said, these people the way you speak to you. And he told us all this, and he started telling us about this tribe, on how the Indian government try to give them money, try to give them food. They don't want nothing. They don't want to be. They don't like being in contact. And people come up in there and get killed. And I'm like, damn, that's the tribe that I heard about 10 years ago. But some white boys got killed. Then this tsunami thing went down, and we got the pictures of this tribe surviving the tsunami. And not only that, they said that after the tsunami hit, this ancient city rose up out of the ground. Some ancient indigenous city rose up out of the ground. You see. So we know that this particular thing going back was a sign. Now didn't Indonesia get hit again in the same damn place?
Yes.
About a month ago?
Yes.
Now that's a sign. Now come on, what are the odds?
Yeah.
They got hit in the same place a month ago. You see, this is very key, because whatever that was, that's the tip of the iceberg. And we are the ones that's creating it.
Yeah.
We're the ones that's creating it. And all you got to do is to dance.
Yeah, come on, let's dance.
All you got to do
Yeah, come on.
The dance of Kali
Yes,
is a dance.
yes.
That's why, that's all you really have to do. You see, one day, pretty much, Lakshmi comes through and she's the goddess of prosperity, but one day, one week it got tight. And I'm like, what the fuck is up? Shit, the damn stuff got tight all of a sudden. A couple of lectures get canceled. What the hell going on? She said, y'all need to take y'all ass in there and pump the music and dance.
Yeah.
That was their word, was her, Vishnu, a bunch of them, they said. I said, what the fuck is going on? They say, you need to take your ass up in there and dance.
That's right, that's right.
Now, you say, well, what does that have to do? If this stuff is going on the inside of us, and there's these energies just metamorphosizing into the gods and the goddesses, they can get dormant. And one thing about these particular energies, there's a big picture of Vishnu laying on his side sleeping. They like to sleep. They like to chill. So they can get so dormant and chill until they forget about your ass. And in so many words, magically, when you dance and you move your cardiovascular to the cardiovascular level, you wake up these energies.
Yes, sir.
So it's the same thing when they say go piss in a cup and drink your own urine. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
We're talking about the one in the morning now with the melanin. And how it's done, you take the first little drop and you let it come out to get the bacteria out. You push the bacteria out, then you fill up a cup of that. You see what I'm saying? But when they were saying that, just as like that, what they were talking about here is when you dance, you are actually bringing together, they're talking about the gathering.
Yes, yes.
You are bringing together particles and energies and microscopic organisms that is lying dormant in your feet and your legs. You see what I'm saying? Because where does all the shit settle? When you look at any kind of stuff, shit settles on the bottom.
That's right, that's right.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? And your feet is where the shit is. Let me give you an example. Where your root chakra and all of that. Let me give you an example. If you see Vishnu, which is the East Indian form of Horus, combination of him and Shiva, because they both come together as Harihara, which is Vishnu and Shiva together. But Vishnu is one, his feminine half is the goddess Lakshmi. Whenever you see Lakshmi and he's sleeping, Lakshmi is always down at his feet, massaging his feet. That's because that's where the energy is lying. Not in Vishnu's feet. They said, well, where is this energy coming from? He said, all my energy that I got that makes me Horus and makes me the Christ comes from Lakshmi. So in one word, you will see the picture of her massaging his feet, which indicates that the energy is in your feet. Another thing here is that she is the energy. So it's a combination of what's going on, but so many words. So when you dance, you wake up all of this stuff.
I say.
You see what I'm saying? So when I was like, well, what the hell up, Lakshmi? And in She Prosperity, she said, take your ass in there and dance.
That's right, that's right.
Now, she told us one day, she said, Linda said, she's saying, we cursing their ass out and shit. Linda said, she's saying you need to go up and dance.
Yes.
I said, okay, I can understand that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying and all. I can understand that. You need to go in there and dance and stuff. Then, the next day or that night, we called Brother Barsisi, and Sister Marilyn is saying, yeah, we need to dance.
And we will soon, I should.
Said, we need to dance. And I'm like, well, goddamn, ain't that what Lakshmi said the night before?
Sure enough, sure.
So, we're talking about churning the cosmic ocean still. We're talking about bringing up something and all, but what happens here is, it's just like anything else. It can get dormant because we're talking about energies. Moving ahead of myself. Let me do a little libation. Y'all all right?
Yeah, good.
So in so many words, what we're talking about here is, this is not theory in the particular aspect of what we was doing. We had to build this particular information and get through thousands and thousands of waves of information in the bibliography. What we're actually dealing with here is actually hands-on experience, and the science of it all is only one problem. It's not going to become It's not going to come in the miraculous. You see what I'm saying? It's going to be simple, but yet sublime. That's the whole mystery to it. You see, the brothers the other week, when I was trying to tell them, and they was looking for something miraculous so they could report back to Dr. Yard. You see what I'm saying? They were looking for some type of ritual that was miraculous. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you what to do. But it's simple shit.
That's right.
You know, simple. Like the Spirit came and said, you want to open up the pineal gland and get you some horseradish. You ever had some damn horseradish?
Yeah. Keep it simple.
Shit go straight to your head. Or that Chinese wasabi.
Yeah, that's the shit.
That's the shit. Awesome. Some boar's head deli mustard. That shit is awesome.
Yeah.
Boar's head deli mustard because it got horseradish in it.
Yeah.
And see, so I'm saying it's simple shit. It's simple yet sublime. All right, let me pull these libations. We got a lot to cover.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Yeah.
Lot to cover. We're still dealing with the elixir. We're still dealing with the elixir. The elixir is a concoction that I put together. Now, this is interesting.
Okay, you good?
Because I did the elixir. I put the elixir together. And when Linda came, I don't know, I stopped drinking the elixir for a minute. And stopped drinking the elixir. Cause she had me some high end shit, some all the Cavassiers and all that shit, some Don Quavo, which is interesting because I noticed one thing, when we pour something, it's just like anything in the spirit realm. We pour this stuff in the glass in the spirits, and they'll first drink it up, and then all of a sudden you pour it in the glass, start sitting there. These are Negroes like us, they get tired of the same shit. So when we pour them something new, so they would drink it up. So when she started pouring that fucking cognac, and pouring some of that damn Don Quavo Gold tequila, they were drinking that shit up. And just like anything else, motherfucker, you don't drink the same thing every damn day, so why you think we gonna want to drink the same thing every day? You see what I'm saying? Same thing every day. So it's very key. It's a lot of things, the real simple things you gotta get. Because of the tsunami, you gotta get some type of fountain in your house, some type of running water.
Got it.
Because this is energy that is bringing in. So you got to get some type of fountain. You can get miraculous with it, or they got little small ones, it doesn't matter. It's not based on the size. But in order to get this particular energy, you got to put some type of fountain in your house because that's the way the energy runs. It's the type of running water. So in so many words, all that particular information that we went through in all this esoteric stuff that is supposed to be miraculous, you can miss out on it now because it's coming very simple shit.
Right.
Very simple. You see. Very simple things, very key like that. Now we're gonna go into a lot of that now because we are talking in the light of day now. So it's real easy shit. You see what I'm saying? Real easy stuff. But one thing you got to start doing is completely discriminating against assholes in your life.
I drink to that. Yeah.
It can't be no we are the world and that shit. You know what I'm saying? No, that because the last vestige of this thing is gonna come. You start getting phone calls. You can get a phone call from a nigga, and the shit upset you the whole damn day. Some motherfucker done said. And a lot of times, when it comes to the family members, that's the key. Because they get worse and worse every damn hour. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to send this thing based on that because they know that's dear to your heart. But I'm just trying to say here, we're not talking about a doctrine or morality that is basically political. It has something to do with your social life. That's what that was for. We're talking about magic that works. And a battlefield that is going on that it ain't based on these powerful forces, it ain't based on the government, it's not even based on some evil spirit forces. It's based on the last vestige of where the negative energy can dwell is in the people that you know. It's down now to the gods and goddesses. And it's down now to basically your everyday friends, folks, family members, all that shit.
Go ahead, yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know, that type of thing. I got a nigga One day the spirit said, okay, this is the day you can let all the motherfuckers, you got one day, open up and let all the niggas come through. He come through and blow the horn out in the yard, and we cut off the light and say, shit. We let him come home. But I know if we let him, because he came through in February, came through in January, said, hey, I'm taking y'all to eat. You know, taking y'all to eat. So we went out to eat with him. And as soon as we came home, we started coming down sick. Because he got so much negative energy. He's like a bad little slap rock. He got so much and stuff until he literally carries this shit around. So when he comes, we cut off the goddamn lights. Because it's not like a nigga I can say, you need to get your ass, get the hell on, get somewhere. He's a nigga I grew up with. So it's a little different. He from Mullins. And he know my mama and all that shit. I've been knowing this nigga since, this high. So, but then, you gotta do a little more creativity on it. You can't say, fuck you. And he said, yeah, man, he go back to mother and say, that nigga there acting all uppity and shit. So, but I've been knowing it for years. You see what I'm saying? And he's a good person. He got a good heart. You understand what I'm saying? But he got fucked up energy. So you don't want to discriminate on somebody who got a good heart. You know what I'm saying? And stuff, I done got a lot of $20 bills off this nigga. All right. But the point I'm trying to say here is, I just cut off the light just to spare him. And then one day the spirit says, this day you can let all them fucked up niggas up in your crib. And so that day he came through and he couldn't get him out the fucking house. You see, but it was an opening that it didn't affect nobody. But I'm saying this, he's so negative, he go to my brother's house, and my brother got 2 little boys, and the next thing, they don't never fight or nothing. And the next thing he know, they about to burn down the damn house. And they said, wait a minute, what's going on? And it was all based on that energy. I say that to say that the battlefield a lot of times is in the people that you know. Right. See, the spirit world know that now these outside forces, you get to a certain level till you've gone past the outside forces fucking with you. Now it's based on people that you know, and the people that you know can upset the fuck out you. Nigga just say the wrong shit, and the shit get in your head. You see what I'm saying? And it wears on you. Now, it's interesting here because they say that when you die, your thoughts, if they're negative, they still continue living, and they become thought forms. And then what happens, they bounce around until they can find a negative host to dwell into. You see what I'm saying? To dwell into, so you could be, not only could it be some people you could have some shit happening to you, or some nigga been dead since the 1950s. You see what I'm saying? And they dwell around in that particular level. But the key here is that realm here is going to be, especially with you people that's conscious or whatever, it's going to be in the people that you know. It's going to be in the people that you know. It's going to get on your fucking nerves. And then the shit festers. And the next thing you know, you coming down with a cold or some shit and you don't know where it came from.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? And it's coming from that type of thing. So let's get into some of this stuff. So this is the elixir. We put this together. And so now, I drink this shit now. And I got it up to like 2 entities. I call on them and they go and do whatever the hell. You see, they go and do whatever the hell. I find out when you get it, so that's other thing. I'm going ahead of myself. Y'all alright?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's do this. Alright. Let's do this. It's time. Modu, Noku, Hana, Inmatu, Chichi, Joko, Okichi, Tiachi, Sheol, Shuma, Omagumu, Alcala, Lokeo, Kakombo, Lalila, Owalensu, Babalap, Babylonia, Aya, Ayo, Elmalek, Zakon, Zotorio, Exanti, Tesimbo, Nisaba, Isala, Alfio Lukea, Mazuzu, Lucifer, Anumaresh, Modu, Netsu, Litu, Yohalo, Pele, which is very interesting here now. 2 people on this list to show you these are some new entities. But this is the interesting thing about it. The entities would come, and then I would find out that the entities would be the names of people that we know. So there's a brother, his name is Notorio. Well, the entity already came, this brother Notorio. Then we find out there's a human named Notorio. So in so many words, when we call out these names, a lot of times they're us. And that's the mystery. That's the mystery on that. Alamado, Luigi, Odawado, Atama, Powado, Powa, Ogamati, Leowa, Oduba, Biwasta, Amati, Awunagate, Regina, Sekou, Keku, Hania, Karet, Egin, Kenai, Aru, Adama, Del Pirates. These are Native American spirits. You can go to borders. They got these bargain sales. They got bargain books up in there. You can go there and get these. They got one on the Native American. And they got all these particular entities. And you can go and you can get these bargain books. They got stuff. They got a whole section there, like $5. You can get stuff on massage. You can get stuff on Chinese, Japanese food, East Indian food. You can get these books and stuff, and they're real cheap. They got a good bargain section. So check out their bargain section. They got a lot of stuff now that they letting go. And stuff. You can get a lot of good books. So these are some coming from the Native American. This is you can go on the internet site and type in. There's a Native American site, but this one here is dealing with Native American goddesses and stuff like that. So this is Mama Shula. This is South America. Mama Shula, Mama Pasha, Chieska, Coco Mama, Leoa, Kosiku, Ashia, Kosiku, Setio, Genowita, Asama, Alatan, Mata, Esther Ready, Suganade, Vishnu, Lakshmi, Kali, Hera, Bertra, Dana, Krishna, Bala, Balarama, Shiva, Pravati, Sati, Lalita, Mut, Rabbit, Medusa, Ganesha, Hanuman, Psyche, Malku, Diana, Sebe Chronos, Style, Melania, Atalanta, Arestazu, Minerva, Gargan, Osa, Aset, Heru, Sut, Seker, Hindu, Maya Tech Boat, Set Tech Boat, Seka Boat, Hindu Boat, Horus Boat, a Turkey Boat, Hin Boat, Apple, Hindu Boat, Bravo, Antu Boat, Osa Boat, Sophia, Gaia, Marbello, Malayaga, Melusine, Hecate, Jimina, Persephone, Kundalini, Yama, Ramanuba, Athena, Vetrinet, Arati, Tanit, Amisa, Belly, Razuli, Yamanuedo, Adoedo, Bridget, Ransamani, Adjumberti, Akama, Anana, Asarte, Aphrodite, Ashura, Adet, Pan, Alisa, Tammuz, Sutneset, Sutsu, Setesh, Tayama, Tammuz, Adonai, Baal, Mil, Moses, Malekta, Chrysalis, Yama, Agastama, Metatron, Nega, Mamu, Nakupa, Umberiga, Kulu, Umbaba, Umbaba, Satusu, Kangu, Babu, Baba, Baby, Cupid, Hero, Papa, Baby Christmas, Baby Food, Sutnubit, Luke, Hattie, Lawhard Hewitt, Pamaku, Zathia, Isaiah, Arady, Tanit, okay, I guess that. All right. You know who you are. Okay. Gonna give a good, special shout out to Durga. At this particular time, we're gonna be dealing with some of that particular energy, that destroying energy that did a certain job. Some people say, well, you know, because a lot of people call and say, well, you know, why it didn't happen to white folks? Well, that's last. You see what I'm saying? That's last. And it couldn't happen in America because hell, we are the damn America. You know what I'm saying? We try to get a job done, you know what I'm saying? And I'm a domestic Negro. I don't want my motherfucking electricity cut off. This is the home where the gods dwell. So there's a reason for certain things like that and shit, you know. You know, y'all can have all them flies and them bugs and living in nature. Damn that.
Damn it.
Give me some DVD and some VCR and some refrigerator and a fucking gas stove, electric stove, microwave, or what the fuck else. You see. So you know what I'm saying? Hey, liquor stove, drug stove, shit. You can go on and do what the hell you want to do in nature, what the fuck you want to do. You know, I ain't eating no bugs and no kind of shit like that. Oh, y'all? Huh? And we just started. Damn. How what you talking about? Another? Go another 30 minutes.
Okay.
And then we'll do that and all because people got to get the food. Yeah. So we're going to go another 30 minutes. Let me get into the lecture. And all you know. Yeah, then we'll do that. Normally, you're right. It should be a break because, you know, we're dealing with CP time, you know. And also, on that particular level, you know, we just got to get on into it. So anyway, to all our gods known and unknown on our side, and to
I drink to that.
and to all ancestors, the Hemmitt family, Shaw family, Davis family, 1, 2, 3, start calling out your family members. 1, 2, 3, call out your family members. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Y'all call them out? They dead. Some call out your family members. Ashe, 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 Ashe. To all ancestors known and unknown. Ashe. Okay. Moving right along. Okay. Certain pictures. Let me get into something else I got to get into first before I go into that. Let me get my notes. Because there's certain things I want to get into right quick. That I want to cover. And if I don't get my notes, you see. So like I said, for the people who, if you really want to, I'm going to put this on the tape for Philadelphia. If you really want to cleanse your house of a lot of negative energies, you know what I'm saying? A lot of negative energies. Sometimes some of these people come up in here, you just can't burn no sage.
Right. All right.
You know what I'm saying? That's just like a joint to them as far as that energy. You got to get some stuff that down south, these people used to use this stuff years ago. And the name of it, you can put it in your, for the people who don't have hardwood floors, you put it in your bathroom or you put it in your kitchen, you got to mop with it. And the stuff is called creolin. Creolin. Anybody ever heard of this stuff?
Yeah.
Creolin. You need to clean with some creolin. Creolin, creolin. So you clean with this creolin, and if there's a negative spirit, it has to leave. It has to go. You see what I'm saying? So we put down some of this stuff, and all of a sudden, the spirit was so mad it knocked over some glasses and knocked over a bucket of water and stuff, you know, because it had to leave. So this is some stuff you could also clean your house with. That's called creolin. For the people that need this particular stuff. And I'm quite sure we all have some stuff that's going on. Now I want to deal with a couple of things right now, some things that went down recently. And before I go into some other magical things, I want to show you on what's going on. Now just remember that every attempt, you can judge what level you are spiritually and how high you are spiritually on how desperate the government gets.
Yes.
On how desperate the government gets. Now, I was in Chicago. In Chicago on the 17th. I think on the 16th of this month. It was about 2 weeks ago. I was in Chicago, and when I got there, the sister who was supposed to pick me up, she was outside circling, And somehow I stayed inside and I didn't go outside and she didn't come inside. And I'm waiting on her to pick me up because these brothers brought me in, but they designated the sister to come pick me up. And by the time so I walked up to the coffee stand to get some change so I could call her cell phone. And they kept me in there about 45 minutes in the airport waiting for somebody to pick me up, all because the Spirit wanted to give me this. This is the Chicago Defender. This is very key. This is the Chicago Defender. It says state of emergency. State of emergency. Illinois House passes bill that attack Black AIDS crisis. Now you see they got the state of emergency now. And I said, oh my, this is why I came to Chicago. And this is why I had to stay in the airport until I picked up this paper. Now, this is the great mystery. Now, let me get this paper because I want to line this up the right way. So you can understand what's going on. Here it is. Let me get this thing. You've also seen this if you've gone and mailed a letter recently. This is a stamp. We had to blow it up so you can graphics break up. But you get the gist. This is the new postal stamp. Is that the wrong way? Yeah. No, test early for sickle cell. Now, that's the new postal stamp. Now, as soon as I saw that, a red flag went up. They're not interested. If you got us on the run and we dying, you ain't interested in saving us. Right. All right? Let me just go through this, and we got a lot to cover, but we go through this stuff and we can go and you can get some vittles and whatever. Now, this says state of emergency. Illinois House passes a bill that attack AIDS that attack the Black AIDS crisis. Now, first of all, there is no such thing as no crisis. Any poll that they give you to suggest that you got something, it's because they sit down and say, now it's time to give you something. You want to kill somebody up, you make a poll. Yes. Now, I often thought that this was something funny, because I see, I'm always analyzing. This black guy came out with a book called The Down Low Mail, On the Down Low or whatever. There's only one problem about this, though. That would have been fine because we do know now that sometime when you get a damn nigger and he's difficult and you say it's black, he say it's blue, and you say it's white, he say it's black. A lot of times it could be hatred of females because they are down low. Right. Now that should exist, but that's probably among males on the planet. You know, I met one girl, she said, now I understand. All that time, she said, that motherfucker hated my ass and I couldn't understand what was going on. He told me down from the day we started going together till the day we ended. And because that motherfucker was a down low. You know what that means? That nigga was gay. It's a difference. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I have to preface this because I'm not fronting on gay folks. Why? Because we as black folks, we ain't got time to be discriminating on a brother and sister if they got a good heart and if they're conscious or if they just, some good folks. That's so fucking personal, we really don't know what a motherfucker does. To make this declaration that we gon', or whatever the deal here is, since your shit is a damn broadcast, you need to just shut it on off. You got some music and stuff. Anyway, what the deal here is, but what I'm trying to say here is when a nigga is down and ain't telling you, even white folks say, come out the fucking closet. You know what I'm saying? The key here is, I thought it was funny that the black guy would come out with this down low shit 3 years before the book came out. McNeil and Lyra, a McNeil report, which comes on PBS, which is an old news station, had this guy come out talking about down low male, which is supposed to be a black man undercover that's gay in the community, that don't want nobody to know he gay, and he develops his culture, even he don't think he gay. And I said, well, it's often funny that you would come out they would let you come out with this particular information, and the guy hadn't even written a book yet. He said, I'm about to write a book on it. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, there's a red flag going up. They're not going to give you no free publicity on you about to write a book on something, you ain't put out the book. I can see if you put out the book and the book was popular, and the media go, hey, let's jump on that. But it's another thing that 3 years before you write a book, a reputable news organization would let you come on. We're not talking about some little current event or current affair. We're talking about the most valid news organization itself coming on PBS, McNeil Report. You know what I'm saying? They got this guy on there, and he's talking about the download mail. I learned about it from this McNeil Report 3 years before the book come out. And that is to set up the excuse that there's an AIDS crisis in the black community that's based on these black men that's sleeping. Well, I was in the 90s, and it was the black woman. The number one person with AIDS in the 90s was the black woman. Now it's the black. You got to make up your mind.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So then they had all these black dignitaries and Jesse Jackson and all of them come out, and they was talking about, we got to get people to test for AIDS and all of this stuff because the download community. I said, oh, now, okay, you done had AIDS, the black woman, then the black man, everybody had all this AIDS in the 90s. It somehow sifted in our community, but now you got an excuse. It's about some download mails. And now they even got that down to, well, a lot of guys go into prison. That's what they talk about in this. I'm like, wait, hold on. If they had that much AIDS in the prison would be wiped out.
That's right.
Damn.
You see what I'm saying? I said, this is all bullshit.
That's right.
Now, I want to read something to you because this is major.
Bullshit.
You see, and there's a connection with this and a connection with this AIDS thing. Now, I want to read something to you right here because I know where they're going with this. See, in order to do this, the movie you need to get is a movie that came out in 1993 with Cuba Gooding Jr. called Daybreak. It's a movie where they got a youth, Hitler Youth people. In this particular case, it's black because it's been led by Omar Epps. And they're going around and quarantining people who got AIDS. And this is supposed to be the disease of the future that put people on lockdown. Now listen to this. It's called Daybreak. Now check this out. Omar Epps, Cuba Gooding Jr. called Daybreak, came out in 1993. Was an HBO thing that you can still get. You can get it on DVD. Now, and they got the whole Nazi Gestapo thing up in there. Now this is the key on this that I want to go into. It says, now look at this. The Illinois Assembly unanimously passed. They passed this. And this is going to set up what they're going to pass for the rest of the country. We're telling you because we're saying now for you, we know that we was waiting on this shit. For us, we also know that, remember now, whatever we say, there's doom and gloom, it means how close we are in this shit. Like the sister said, baby, it's got to be close because, they are setting down the guidelines for whatever they're doing. Now listen to this. The Illinois State General Assembly unanimously passed a bill Thursday that will coordinate effects of several state agencies in addressing the AIDS crisis in the African American. They didn't say African American in Chicago, or they didn't say Black Chicago. Now, this is for the entire country. One state has to set it up on the state level before it becomes on the federal level. You got to understand government, all right? So it says, which is the AIDS crisis in African Americans. Now let's see here. You go to New York. Do you know that they say New York now is now the majority of New York now is populated in New York City in the 5 boroughs, that the Caribbean black people now outnumber the amount of black people that is born in the United States.
Right.
Why they say? Because they've had such a major influx
I believe it.
from the last 10 years. Majority of the black folks have moved down south. They done had another migration.
Yeah.
Right.
So now they said that the Caribbeans outnumber the Africans in America, in New York City. So why they say African American? Now goddamn, some of these Caribbeans have been up there since the turn of the century. It's not like they just got off the boat.
Yeah, right.
You see, you got second, third, and fourth generation. They didn't say nothing about the Caribbean. You see what I'm saying? Which is black skin. Nothing about the African. You see what I'm saying? This is how this goes. And in major cities, you have several communities. In Chicago, you just don't have an African American community. You have a black Caribbean community, a black African community. You see what I'm saying? You got these different communities of black folks. They talk about African American.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Now listen to this. House Bill 2578 is known as, now this is the key. See what they did with this? Only thing they got to do to shut you down and quarantine you is to tie your name in with the disease. Now listen to this shit. The House Bill 2578, also known as the African American HIV and AIDS Response Act.
Oh my God.
You hear this shit here? They done tied the African American name to AIDS. Now remember, you gotta have a good memory. I remember that I first got to Atlanta, being a student, following the crowd. We jumped in these buses, and it took damn near, I think it was something like 25,000 people marched on this little town called Forsyth, Georgia. Because they didn't have no blacks living there. They ran all the blacks out at the turn of the century. So we followed Hosea Williams and a whole bunch of Coretta Scott King and a whole bunch of civil rights all-star niggas. I think Jesse Jackson might have been there. I don't know. There's a bunch of civil rights all-stars. We followed them down to this Forsyth, Georgia. And was buses full. The next Monday, that was on a Saturday, that Monday, Oprah came in and had a show broadcasting to the citizens of Forsyth, Georgia, saying, we don't want no niggas there. And in the middle of the show, a white woman called Oprah. She said, niggas like you. But she was being nice to Oprah. She said, I like niggas like you. But she was being nice to Oprah and ended up calling her a nigga because they call niggas so much. And she called for a nigga on there. And they had one guy from the Klan stood up and say, send them niggas back to the watermelon fields of Atlanta, because we don't want y'all niggas up in here with your drugs, and we don't want AIDS. We don't want AIDS. Now this was in 1986. This was long before they even started linking AIDS with black people. You gotta understand why they create these diseases, or they create this hoax. You see, they can create this thing, you see, and it can linger for years, and then all of a sudden now, they got all these big billboard pictures of fucking Magic Johnson, and all these people with AIDS, you see what I'm saying, and all this stuff with the AIDS, it's all to come down to this one thing. So what they're doing here is, just like, now you know they can do it, if they can make a stereotype that say watermelon and black people, malt liquor and black people, welfare and black people, if they can make a stereotype, then they can etch it in the brains that AIDS is synonymous to black people. Well, here it is with this thing, the House Bill 2578, known as the African American HIV and Response Act, has introduced in February, they introduced this in February by Representative Connie Howard, Democrat 30 2nd or whatever, District 32nd. This could have very, the county Howard could be a nigger now. They always get a nigger to do it.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Howard told the Chicago Defender that now the state recognized the extreme emergency existing in our community. The bill provides the state agencies to coordinate with local health organizations to contact HIV and AIDS testing. And counseling in the Chicago State University's research department to study the connection between the incarceration and HIV infection and establish HIV and AIDS review panels to the governor's office. So many words now. Let me show you what this shit is really talking about. Because they put a bill in house with your name on it. You see what I'm saying? Not the Mexicans, not the Asians, not white folks, not the Caribbean. Because they got a bill in your house, now they have systematically and conspiratorial. What was known as AIDS now is known as African American.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You got to understand how the quarantine comes on. And it's not by mistake that this was come out a couple of days before them naming the new pope, which is supposed to be the Nazi Germany guy